We are here to review the fifth final episode of Better Call Saul, episode 9 of season 6, and this one is called Fun and Games. And isn't it ironic to call this episode that? Because it was the polar opposite. It wasn't fun, and the games that were played were pish. Because, like, from last week's mid-season premiere, so to speak, I mean, at least you actually had stuff happen. You know, like a major character death. Here, literally, like, 56 minutes and nothing. Like, Gus drinks some wine, Mike cleans some stuff up, and Kim and Jimmy, well, Kim says her goodbyes, essentially, and that's it. I mean, I know you can say that scene matters, but we'll kick off where it starts. It's basically an intro of everyone getting back to life, like adjusting to the kills and all this, that, and the fourth, but what I don't get about this, it's like, why are we seeing, like, Mike and Gus showing, like, empathy here? Like, Lalo's dead. Like, they're almost making it like, their mental health playing up. Look at how many people they've killed or ordered. You know what I mean? It's like, what in the fuck are we doing here? Didn't really get this. And this scene just dragged on. It was like the bicycle scene in, like, 5 episodes ago. It just drags on and drags on and drags on. And then we get this scene where Gus is driving, and this literally lasts about 5 minutes. It looks like you were watching someone uploading like a full-length fucking driving video of where they're going from one place to another. He eventually pulls in the Don Eladio's, what do you call it? Fella? However you want to call it, I don't know. And yeah, we've got Don Eladio, we've got Hector, we've got Balsa, with the cousins. Gus sits down. Eladio basically lets him know that Hector's got one mighty accusation, and it's that in fact, Gus ordered the hit to kill Lalo. Basically, Balsa reads it what thingy he spelled out in the Ouija board or whatever, and I actually thought he was going to do it letter by letter. Thankfully, he just reads it in a sentence, because that would I'm not surprised though if they did it, because Better Call Saul just likes dragging the arse out of things. But basically, he says that Lalo phoned him and said that Gus put the hit in motion, and that he was one that ordered mercenaries to his house that night at the season 5 finale, and that he's killed him. But then Don Eladio says that Lalo's body was in fact found, and that the dental records prove it were him. To which he then asks the cousins that, did they see Lalo? The cousins say no, because that's all the cousins say. They've no charisma, they've fuck all. And then basically Don Eladio settles it by saying, right, Gus, you'll keep everything north of the valley, while the Salamancas keep everything south. And I'm thinking, see, at this stage, I know, like, we're even before Breaking Bad, well, obviously, because we're not in it yet. But what is the point of Don Eladio keeping the Salamancas? One, right, Lalo's gone. Whether he knows he's dead or not, like, he's just not going to be there. Number two, because he's accepted he's dead, Don Eladio. Number two, Tuco is in jail, so he's out of commission. Hector is a cripple who's in a wheelchair and can't do anything. You could piss on him and he'd have to sit there and take it. And then the cousins have no say in anything. They just walk about with their guns. Would it not just be a better move for Don Eladio to wipe out the Salamancas? Whether to, like, do it in a way where it's apparent it's him. I know he's still got mad Tuco, but like, he's literally just accused Gus of this, and Don Eladio's came to the conclusion that Gus had nothing to do with it, even though we obviously we've seen in flashbacks that Don Eladio seems to be more pally-pally with Hector, even though it seems like Gus is just making him way more money and shit like that. We've seen that in numerous flashbacks. I just don't really get the whole gimmick of the Salamancas. And another thing about this meeting, we know nothing can happen here. We know that Don Eladio and Gus are on alright terms, well, not alright terms, but I mean they're at an understanding until Gus basically kills them, you know, in Breaking Bad. So it's like, what's going to happen here? It's not like Don Eladio's going to be like, yeah, you killed Lalo, whip out his magnum and fucking drop Gus in the swimming pool. No, that's not going to happen. Meanwhile though, Gus, he heads out to drink wine. We then get introduced to this guy called Brett. I don't know if we've ever heard this guy, but Gus knows this guy. And basically there's like some flirting going on here, and everyone's like, oh, it's just to remind you that Gus is gay. Well, we all know Gus is gay, and this was 5 minutes of your life that you're never going to get back. Meanwhile, Kim and Jimmy are sitting there in their apartment. They get ready for their day's work. Essentially, Kim basically gives up being an attorney. She's no longer an attorney. You can see that this whole thing with Howard has affected her. And then they have the funeral for Howard where his wife's there, and she basically in disbelief saying he wasn't a cocaine addict, but then Kim and Jimmy are like, yeah, he was. We were the last people to see him, but we see him doing coke. And then Cliff even kind of alludes to it, because of course he spotted the bag of coke that those two planted in his locker earlier on this season. And this kind of basically pushes Kim to breaking point. Meanwhile, Mike, after doing a clean-up job, decides, you know what, it may be about 7 episodes too late, but I'm going to phone Nacho's dad. And this is probably the worst scene of the episode, because he phones Nacho's dad, and we all know how much they love to drag shit out. The phone rings, right? I literally timed it. It rings for 1 minute and 3 seconds. Has to be the longest phone ever. Nacho's dad finally begins to stand up, walks over at like 0.1 mile an hour, answers the phone, and he can barely understand English, and it's like the worst phone call known to man. They then meet outside at a chain link fence, and he's like broken English, and Mike doesn't know any Spanish, and it's just absolutely horrendous, this scene. Really is. And he basically says, oh, you cartel are all the same, but he says it in Spanish, so do we care? No, we don't, to be perfectly honest. Like, this should have been handled episodes ago. Like, I mean, I guess you could say it closes the book, and then Mike gives it the whole thing of he wasn't like them, he wasn't like a cartel member, your son was a good guy. Was he? I mean, everyone's brought into that life. I mean, you fucking... Was Nacho really a good guy? I mean, he's probably one of the gooder guys in the cartel, but I mean, I think if you're any member of a cartel, you're not really a good guy, like, you know, that's the way I look at it. But yeah, and then the episode ends, essentially. Kim says to Jimmy she can't date anymore, they're breaking up, she's away, can't he date, we're not married anymore. Jimmy's trying to convince her, it's not working, and it's like, we've been wondering like for like 6 seasons here, what's the fate going to be of Kim, and is this it? We have like, it fades to black, we have a flash forward, and Jimmy's Saul. Is that it? Was this episode just showing you what he becomes, or are we actually going to see, like, over the next couple of episodes, him becoming Saul? Because here it's like, because we even see that he's aged. He looks far more like Saul in Breaking Bad than any point of Better Call Saul. So if we'd had like a 3 or like a 2-year time skip, I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. But that is where this episode ends, with him sitting down in his office, and it's properly his office now, because yeah, it's just the Breaking Bad office, isn't it? But that's where the episode ends. A very lackluster episode. I mean, you could argue Kim's left, Nacho's dad's got closure, we had a cartel meeting, and Jimmy finally became Saul, and it was still a shit episode. 56 minutes of pure and utter pish. And on that note, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. Some important stuff happened, but the way they went about it was absolute shit. And on that note, peace.